After proposing to the three godlike figures about making items for him, we find Damian roaming along the roads by himself. He finally takes a break by sitting on top of a rock, complaining about something that was killing him. He thinks back to the meeting with the three blacksmiths. Just them looking at him was enough to drain Damian's life force, but thanks to that meeting, the hidden place Uldweir's furnace has been activated. From now on, Damian will be able to use the option called Random Craft Item. Seeing the number of notifications pop up made him happy, but he was mostly glad that he came out of that place unharmed. Now that he had solved this issue, there was another problem that came up. Another notification appears, telling Damian that he has come across the quest called Terms of the Oath, recommending him to open his quest window to see the quest details. A flashback is seen when the elf man was thinking about Damian's offer, which was interesting, but then he knew that there was one thing that was bothering him. It turns out that concentration was the most important thing for their competition, but the elf was complaining that there was something annoying them, breaking their focus, which made him hesitate to participate in Damian's offer. So he comes up with a new idea, telling Damian that if he catches the things that were making the noise, then he would happily accept the match. And so, that was the premise of the quest called Terms of the Oath. Damian was tasked with catching those pesky creatures in order to let the blacksmiths concentrate on their work better. Seeing the quest window and its information, Damian was annoyed to see that it was actually from the elf. How sly of him. But after looking at Tessa's ring that was glowing brightly on his finger since he entered the cave, Damian suspected that the elf's man quest had something to do with it. But if the quest leads to Alistair or the crucifixes Dawn, then Damian would have no way of following them. The reason behind it was because of Shaka. Thinking about it, Damian was angry. After all, the little boy took the destruction orb fragment piece as a gift, but to Damian, he was practically stealing from him and just considered it as a gift. He continues to shout and scream, rubbing his head in frustration over how nothing was working out as he wanted. Looking around the place, and using the information from his past life, Damian knew that there was nothing that could be a nuisance to the blacksmiths here aside from a few dungeons. Thinking about what those pesky creatures could be, Damian wondered if there was a field boss nearby, as he still hasn't seen his master around lately. Chippy cuts in, reminding Damian that he was too busy to be bothered by things like that. Our boy agreed with the little bird, confident that his master was probably somewhere eating and pooping right now, and was completely fine. Raising his hand to let the ring shine, as though he was a green lantern, Damian focused back on it once again. When he had left the dukedom, the Tessa ring was pointing towards the southwest. But right now, the ring was pointing to the west, and given that the Pharma dukedom is to the north, that means the target is not a dungeon but something that can move. Thinking about what it could be, Damian opens his eyes widely, realizing that it could be someone who was chasing after him right now. Looking back, Damian decides to test the theory, and activates his sixth sense skill and continues to scan the area all around him. The scene then changes to Jihan, who seems to be under attack by something. The red lightning-like attack seems to hurt him badly as he flinches his arm. Jihan looks at his wrapped hands, wondering what was wrong with him. He knew that without the holy spell, he would have been burned to death. Looking around, he knew the attack came from far away and that he couldn't even trace the people who had attacked. Just as he was searching for the attackers, his two brothers came rushing in, calling out and asking what had happened. They reached him, concerned about who had done this to him. Jihan immediately stood up, shaking off the pain, and assured his brothers with a smile that there was no ambush and nothing to worry about. But the two brothers didn't accept that, asking if he was really sure and what was really going on. Jihan then revealed he had missed the target, which surprised the two brothers. The eldest brother grabbed Jihan's shoulder, asking him to explain in detail. Jihan finally shared that it seemed the target had realized he was being tracked, as indicated by the destroyed tracking spell. Showing his bandaged hands with lingering holy magic and red lightning flame, the eldest brother was shocked and alarmed by what he saw. Trying to ease the tension, Jihan assured them that the target hadn't escaped to unreachable heights or depths. If anything, this encounter made it easier to track him. Jihan added that a third party might have detected and broken the tracking spell, but he was certain their target was still nearby. Despite this information, the eldest brother expressed concern, which Jihan agreed with. As they continued talking, an unknown voice chimed in, informing them of an unwelcome visitor. All three brothers looked up toward the voice. The big, bald brother was the first to shout, "Who is it?" As Jihan tried to calm him, the eldest brother kept his composure and instructed his brothers to keep their heads down. Activating his skill, he cast a bright yellow light around his fist, using his Saint's Fist might. He punched with all his strength, and some demonic-like creatures were blasted to pieces, but they quickly regained form and attacked again. Surrounded by monsters, the eldest brother told them to prepare for battle. He cast light, covering his body in a bright yellow aura. Seeing the battle begin, the other two brothers activated their skills, covering themselves in yellow light as well. Jihan chanted, "Lord Almighty, have mercy on us, forgive our sins, and give us eternal salvation," raising his fist with the yellow aura. The surrounding monsters screamed, bright white light emitting from their mouths. Jihan then used his fierce dragon's mighty power to strike the monsters, creating a loud clash as red and yellow aura collided. Although Jihan cast a powerful spell, he struggled against the monsters. The eldest brother noticed and told him to hang on while he prepared to help. He began casting anti-demonic progressive illusion, creating a tornado-like storm around himself, directing punches at the monsters. His attacks caught each monster's attention until they were all hit simultaneously, eventually causing the monsters to disappear. With the monsters gone, the eldest brother asked if they had gotten rid of all of them. The bald brother believed so, but as they relaxed, the unknown voice spoke again, accusing them of serving a false god. An ominous dark aura began gathering on the floor, and the voice informed them that although they weren't his targets, he would make them entertain him for a while. The brothers could only stand, eyes fixed on the unsettling scene before them. Alistair had appeared before them, in a massive upgrade in both evilness and size. Jihan stares at the notification window before him, the system telling him that it cannot confirm the opponent's identity due to its high level or special magic. The system then advises him to try using a detection item or skill. Jihan gathered all the info and realized that Alistair was probably on the same level or possesses a power that's incompatible to them, the temple monks. In his biggest form so far, Alistair mocks the three brothers, calling them foolish servants of a false god. As heaven is near and the day the Messiah will come again is soon. He continues to tell them to repent and confess. If they did so, then his Messiah will save them. Even if they had come here because of the calling of a different dimension. Alistair continues, telling them if they accept the Messiah's holiness completely as servants of a false god, then it cannot be said that they are completely useless as vessels. If so, then there would be no need for him to create new vessels. Covering them in a sphere made out of his darkness and magic, Alistair traps the three brothers, telling them to prove to him that they were worthy vessels for his Messiah. After Alistair had disappeared, leaving them with some scary last words, the brothers slowly realized that they had fallen for his trap, as they were now stuck within the domain he had created. Soon enough, as the brothers were looking for a way out, the humanoid monsters started to form in an endless wave, their red demonic eyes focused on the brothers as prey to be consumed. In the end, the brothers were trapped in the darkness sphere, surrounded by humanoid monsters that Alistair had created in order for the brothers to prove that they were not useless. Meanwhile, Damian was peacefully strolling through the forest, looking around and wondering why there were so few monsters left in this place. As he ventured deeper into the woods, the smell of blood started to appear in the air before him. He takes a quick sniff, wondering why there was a sudden surge of blood in the air. That's when his attention was drawn towards something right in front of him. A few of the humanoid monsters that were created for the brothers had suddenly appeared in front of Damian, leaping high into the air and towards him in a crazy frenzy. Without mercy, it tries to strike our boy down, but he simply dodges the surprise attack by leaping backwards. Laughing at how slow the monster was in attacking him, looking at the monster, Damian realized that the old elf man was trying to test his abilities with the quest as an excuse. As soon as he landed back onto the ground, 3 humanoid monsters appeared, chasing Damian right away. Instead of running away, Damian eagerly leaps towards the group of monsters, excited to fight something right now. With a single punch, he manages to blow apart one of the humanoid monsters. The moment he does, the system informs him that he had defeated a twisted modified test specimen. Looking at its name in the system, Damian agreed with its name after taking a look at them. Which made it obvious about who made them monsters in the first. Seeing that another one of the monsters were charging towards him, Damian places his hand onto the ground and uses his wolf totemic set. The effect of the armor allowed him to change his vengeful spirit arrow into wolves that hunted down their prey with improved effects. Just like the animal it is, the wolf arrows hunted down each and every one of the humanoid monsters around Damian, biting and clawing them apart. After some time, Damian was surrounded by the corpses of the twisted test subjects who were covered in claw and bite marks. Looking at them, Damian could only call them weak things. As he stood amongst the corpses, the system informs him that the Rune of Greed extorting hands effect was taking place, allowing him to absorb the health of the twisted modified test specimens. As he absorbs the aura of the monsters, Damian looks around, hoping to find the one that had created them in the first place. As he tries to search, Chippy points in a certain direction, informing Damian that there was something strange in that place. Our boy started to smile as he walked over towards the domain that Alistair had created for the brothers, happy that he didn't need to use some effort to find him. Within the domain itself, the bald brother was already bleeding badly, creating a type of shield in order to protect Jihan and the eldest brother, who looked completely roasted as there was smoke coming from him. The bald brother tells Jihan that he was almost at his limit. Knowing that there was no end to this, he tells Jihan to leave immediately, thinking about how things had become like this as this was harder than he had expected it to be. Just as he was busy with the shield, the brother receives various notifications from the system, telling him that there was a lot of strong demonic energy around him, and that the twisted modified test specimens were spreading rampantly and to prepare for the incoming monster wave. Looking at the notifications, the bald brother was in full-on panic mode over the monster wave. Seeing that he had no choice left, he grits his teeth hard and uses the system to message Jihan, telling him that upon his signal, he needed to leave with their eldest brother, Jae-young. He was sure that if they take the chance now, they would be able to break through the domain. Worried about him, Jihan wonders what his brother was going to do next. It turns out that the bald brother was going to sacrifice himself for them. As they were busy messaging one another, Alistair started to speak again just as the monster wave reached the brothers' shield. He calls their effort futile, recalling the time that Damian had slain him. He tells the brothers that even though one of his selves was lost to them before, that was only because of a mistake stemming from his pride and vanity. And from now on, this was his first step towards salvation. Consider this his last act of mercy towards them all. Alistair appears, his eyes glowing bright red with hatred as he tells the brothers to die. Upon hearing that, the bald brother went all out, shouting at the top of his lungs as he summoned a powerful aura around his body. His eyes were completely white, focusing his energy in his palms and near his stomach. He summoned the temple monk's mountain leaping tiger. Using it as a last-ditch effort, the tiger leaps towards Alistair and attacks. Using this moment, he turns around, shouting at Jihan to use this time to escape. Without hesitating, Jihan runs away with all his might, narrowly dodging the twisted modified specimens that were chasing after him. As he ran with his eldest brother on his back, Jihan casted another temple monk skill, called Sanctum Asta, that formed a weapon made out of aura in his hand. With another loud shout, he throws the skill towards the domain, resulting in a massive explosion, as Alistair could be seen holding onto the neck of the bald brother. It turns out that he had died according to the system, once he was done with that brother. Alistair turns his attention towards the ones running away, calling their efforts useless. It turns out that the hole he had made with his skill was slowly closing thanks to Alistair. Seeing this happen, Jihan realized that there was only one thing for him to do. Carrying his brother with the yellow aura and lifting him, Jihan then throws him through the hole he made before it manages to close. As he watched his brother fly to safety, the system informed him that his brother had died instead. Seeing this bit of information, Jihan collapsed onto his knees, crying over the fact that everything was over for them. But as he was crying over his loss, the sounds of Damian and Chippy laughing over a monster that scared them attracted his attention. A wolf-like figure appears behind Jihan as the system tells him that an endless abyss of darkness encroaches. The system continues to tell him that the Dark Star, a malefic star that helped the development of a star that swallows everything, has appeared before him. Looking at the immense shadowy figure, Jihan couldn't help but call him the Dark Star. This man is the malefic star that inherited the progression of the dead star, the star of darkness that died once, as well as the core of the mainstream the brothers had required the order, the stars. Looking at Jihan, who was covered in blood and had a confused look on his face, Chippy questions Damian about what he said about him, calling him the Dark Star. Damian took one look at the injured boy and recognized him as one of the 3J brothers who were gaining popularity nowadays, which surprised Jihan. It turns out that Damian knew about the brothers, as he figures that one day, they would all get together somehow.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.